Welcome into this Sunday night edition, Week 16 recap edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. We're going to be hitting every game today in the Sunday slate. But JP, before we get into it, I got to bring it up because we're not going to talk about the Thursday night or the Saturday night games in depth, but we all know what happened. The Packers-Bears game yesterday, and the whole weekend for the Packers was almost a disaster in terms of the end of game situations. From that one to whatever was going to happen in the Lions game, if the Lions would have won, would have been the worst case scenario for their playoff hopes. But there was a silver lining to it. And I really want to discuss this and hear your takes on it. Because Malik Willis was absolutely balling. Like that guy, they might have the best quarterback in the NFC North, and it's the backup for the Green Bay Packers.
I just think it's hilarious that Malik Willis comes in and Matt LaFleur gets to unlock every single part of the playbook. Like all the stuff that he spends like hours drawing up in the offseason. He's like, finally, I get to use a running quarterback to do all this.
It was, him and Caleb Williams were like the Spider-Man meme in that game. They're both uber dynamic, high-end arm talent. And Malik Willis is like, the scouting report coming out of Liberty was that. It was not accuracy, though. But in that game, he didn't really miss throws, which was, I think, the most surprising part. The go ball to Romeo Doubs was just an absolute dime, especially in that win. So I had to get that off my chest before we get to the games. Let's get to the games. Let's get to the Sunday Night Football game where it just ended. Patriots win 28-24. Comeback victory. My big number from this game, it's 380. That's how many passing yards Drake May had in this one. That is a career high for Drake May. In fact, he had never had a 300-yard game prior to this week. His very first 300-yard game, and it comes in a big, big second-half performance there for the Patriots.
The way that he has gone from good to elite this season, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but this felt like the perfect game to go off and display how good he has become this season. And I think a large part of it is because his processing is so clean at the quarterback position. He's so efficient with his movement. So there are a lot of times, actually, the Ravens did a pretty good job of trying to fluster him, not only with like blitzing, but it's a lot of the simulated pressures, sending guys and bringing guys that weren't supposed to be there when it comes to blitzers and sim pressures. And I actually thought they flustered him a little bit, but the third down throw to Diggs where he's stepping up into the pocket and delivers the ball downfield. There was another one where he hit Mac Hollins on a dig route. The go ball to Kyle Williams was absolutely beautiful, but just his growth when it comes to just the efficient pocket movement. It's not always sort of – last season it felt very reckless, but there was good intent behind it. This season it's a lot more efficient. It's a lot calmer. And he was doing this with Vidarian Lowe, and Thayer Mumford actually got hurt in this game. So they're on their third string right tackle and backup left tackle in this game.
Yeah, and Jared Wilson was kind of getting beat like a drum by Travis Jones for most of the game too. Like it was not pretty up front for the Patriots, and he still continued to make plays. Chris Collinsworth highlighted on the broadcast, but the same thing you kind of just said, like his ability to move in the pocket while staying with the progression just on so many occasions in that game was the difference between a big negative play and a positive play, just keeping them on schedule. And then he goes 6 of 8 on deep balls in that game, 164 yards. And the only reason it wasn't better was because they didn't throw a flag on Marlon Humphrey on whatever that was, tackling Kayshon Boutte there in that last play.
That was an awful no call. I was sure that there was going to be a makeup call later in the game because of it, but it felt like everybody in the stadium sort of just waited for the flag. Yeah. And then a flag never came, and everybody just started looking around like hands up, like, what are we doing here?
It also was like as close to a catch as you can get without being a catch. I think even post ground, he had it. I honestly think it was just the concussion that made him lose grip of the football at the very end. Like he at some point, his brain kind of just short circuited and he just dropped the ball out of nowhere. But I'm pretty sure even post ground, he had possession of that ball. It's just the ball then squirted out of his hand. Unfortunate, obviously the Patriots still win, so not a big deal. But hopefully Kayshon Boutte is okay for next week's game. I think one of the most interesting storylines from this, though, was the way the Patriots treated Drake May like a quarterback who could go out and win you a game. he had 50 dropbacks. He handed the ball off 13 times. This was a Drake May, you go win us the game. That's what you do when you have Patrick Mahomes. That's what you do when you have Joe Burrow and you don't think the matchups up front are going your way with the offensive line. You rarely see that done with a guy in his second year. And when you do, you know it's something special.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with the Patriots is, like we said, they don't really have the strength of the run game. Travion Henderson goes out of this game with a concussion. The Ravens are doing a really good job of stopping the run, but Drake May won that game with his efficient pocket movement, with just all the downfield explosives. That was the biggest thing. There was a stretch during the game where I think it was a completion on like 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7. I think Kayshon Boutte commits to OPI. Then it's a 3rd and 12, and then they convert it anyway. That's where you're sort of just like, okay, this quarterback is one of them ones.
I will say, though, no one, I think, had a better day today than Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke had the best day in all of football. He gets Kayvon Chase on, making a game-winning forced fumble. He wasn't technically the GM then, but I think he was like director of player personnel. Had a hand in drafting him. And then the Jaguars roster, that pretty much is his roster. We've talked about this. There's not a lot of changes from last year. Well, they have a 23% chance of getting the 1 seed, and we'll get to them here in a little bit later. All right, we're going to take a quick break. After that, we got Steelers-Lions, Jags-Broncos, Bucs-Panthers, the big games coming up next.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
That is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
Steelers-Lions, a barn burner. Steelers come away with the 29-24 victory, even though the Lions had two touchdowns in the final drive taken off the board.
My number for this game was 4, because that's how many penalties there were on the last drive. And I wanted to ask you this. What was that final play? So if you're unaware, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's 4th and goal from I believe like the 12-yard line. Yeah, like the 9-yard line. Amon-Ra St. Brown catches ball short of the goal line, flips the ball back to Jared Goff, who goes somersaulting into the end zone. Everybody thinks Lions have won the game miraculously. We're just going to go check the flag, see what happens. They call OPI correctly on Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is very much offensive pass interference. But they also did say Jared Goff scored a touchdown. But because it was OPI, they didn't give them an untimed down and move them back. They just ended the game. So I'm sort of just confused on what happened throughout that entire drive. And honestly, like, from a refereeing perspective, I hate to be like the refs did this, that, and the other. All those penalties that they called on the final drive were good calls. Like the pass interference on, I believe that was Beanie Bishop. It was Kyle Duggar. Calling on Kyle Duggar, that was DPI. That was very much DPI. Tripping on Alex Highsmith, very much tripping. Like he knew.
He knew it. he like admitted it.
Like, oh, like I got him. And then both OPIs were legitimately OPI. It's just the way that it all unfolded felt like a really good microcosm for what officiating has been in the NFL this season.
Well, the most embarrassing thing was the time. They were there for, I can't imagine what it was like in that stadium, but minutes discussing how to implement a penalty that, to me, is a very rudimentary, like, everyone who has a mild understanding of football rules knows that if it's defensive penalty on the last play of the game, you get another down. If it's an offensive penalty on the last play of the game, that's it. And why that took them so long to come to that conclusion was like, am I missing something? Is there some way, shape, or form where an offensive penalty with 0 time remaining on the clock gets you another untimed down? I don't think there is.
I don't know. I guess for me, because they scored, like if time was not like an issue, they would have just moved them back and let them play it, and you'd have to play another snap. But I guess because like there was no time left on the clock when the penalty happened, I guess that makes sense as to why, like, okay, game's over. But I just think the way they went about, like you said, the way they went about presenting and like actually telling everybody what the flag was and ending the game, it very much felt like, look, we just want to go home. We just want to get out of here.
Here's the thing. They never should have called it a touchdown either. I mean, the fact that they blow the flag, he catches the ball at the goal line. Two guys have dragged him back over 5 yards. They release him because it's been 5 yards. Like no one ever gets that much time going backwards with the play still going on. 5 yards. They release him. He jumps, dives, throws it backwards. Everyone has stopped besides the Lions players. Like literally no one's even trying to tackle Jared Goff until he gets to the goal line. The fact that they were going to allow that sans OPI to me is right up there with the time it took for the absurdity of that final play, because that should never have been allowed.
It felt like pro wrestling where Dan in the comments, perfect point of saying the touchdown first was absolutely diabolical. That was real heel work by the refs. Like, yeah, it's a touchdown. However, offensive pass interference. Got to move him back. Game over. Let's go home.
Dude, I feel for Lions fans because they had it. That 2 plays taken off the board. If you were in that stadium, you thought you had won the game in dramatic fashion. But obviously, I don't want to say it's for the best, but their defense was atrocious. 29 points to the Steelers, 2 long runs to Jalen Warren that were just complete. I want to say coverage bust, but complete assignment busts. Like their gap control on both those runs was just non-existent. They had no clue where they were going. And that's just, unfortunately, that's what's the Achilles heel of this Lions team. This far too often this year, their defense cannot get the stop when it matters most in the fourth quarter.
And they've also just run out of bodies up front. They find themselves in a really tough position where they have to blitz all the time because they can't win with 4. And because they have to blitz all the time, they leave their corners on islands. They play a lot of man coverage, which it leaves you prone to coverage bust. We see it a lot with the Ravens. But because they can't win with 4, because you can't win up front, that completely changes how you call a defense. If you can't at least do something, if you can't stop the run or get some pass rush, if you can't do either of those, you're screwed in the NFL or in football in general. If you can't either stop the run or you can't rush the passer, like you have no chance of winning because you have to devote more bodies to actually trying to do that up front. So the Lions have just sort of found themselves in a very unfortunate position over the last few years. Even after drafting Aiden Hutchinson, they have still needed more depth up front. And I don't think that's going to start like actually happening until this offseason.
Lions now 6% chance of making the playoffs. Playoff hopes on life support after that loss. Steelers 91% chance after their win. Ravens loss could not have gone better for them today. They could have it wrapped up with either a win or a Ravens loss next week. Mike Tomlin gets his winning season yet again. And DK Metcalf gets how many game suspension after punching a fan in the first row?
How many games are left in the season? 2? He'll probably get like 2 or 1. Yeah. I do wonder what was said to DK Metcalf in that situation, because I believe according to the Detroit Free Press, who actually went and found the fan after he was removed from the stadium, they asked him what he said to DK, and the fan was like, it doesn't matter what I said. They saw DK Metcalf hit me on video. And look, man, if you're telling that to the news, you said something crazy. So again, I'm not saying DK like is completely right. You should not punch somebody, but also don't yell those things at players. Like don't do that. There's a line between like heckling players and like most players can actually take criticism, but there's a line that you cross, and that dude probably crossed the line.
Oh, I mean, I think that's like a given. That's that's just a given when you go into an opponent's stadium. They're like, a fan is going to cross the line. It is on you as the player not to react. Not saying that's fair. That's just the nature of the business. But you knew it cracked me up that the very first target after the punch, DK drops it. Like, you knew in the back of his head, he's like, I effed up. Like, he's like,
he dropped the pass, and then I think he also got called for OPI. And I was like, oh man, like you can't have that happen after the punch.
He's just
you gotta go score a touchdown after that.
He's just thinking about how much his salary is this year. And so how much 2 game checks are going to cost him. They may not need him. Like I said, they win next week. They have the division wrapped up, but they very well may not have him next week against the Cleveland Browns. I'd be very surprised if they do. You just can't let players punch fans. I don't care what they say. I don't care how much they try to bait you. That is a slippery slope. He will be suspended. Let's get to Jags Broncos. Jags 34, Broncos 20. JP, go off, King.
Let's do this. The big number for this one, 0.21. That was the Jaguars' EPA per drop back against the Broncos defense. That is tied for the highest the Broncos have given up this season since week 6. It is tied for second highest the Broncos have given up all season. Their first highest was against Daniel Jones in week 2 against the Colts. The vibes are back. We're so back. You thought that this week was really a big one because I think all of the discussion around like nobody cares about the Jaguars. The Jaguars don't get any respect. The Jaguars are a lot better when nobody likes them. And I don't think anybody's really noticed that. But I also think this was such a statement game for Jacksonville's offense. They went in and they sort of handled the Broncos defense. I mean, they struggled early against the Broncos pass rush, but I think the adjustments by Liam Cohen and this offense really stood out. They used a lot of gun play action where they were really trying to leave their running back in protection, and they would move an offensive lineman, whether it be Ezra Cleveland, Patrick McCarry before he got hurt. They would pull an offensive lineman, and that would not only give them more time to help out against the pass rush, but it's moving up the linebackers out of voids for all those digs that they hit. Cole Van Lanen at left tackle completely shut down Nick Bonito. And Cole Van Lanen has been so good that he has effectively outplayed Walker Little, and Walker Little is now their swing tackle. He came in at guard when Patrick McCarry got hurt. It was Walker Little, not Cole Van Lanen, who moved. So you just kept getting contributions. You got a big Parker Washington game. As a big Parker Washington fan, I didn't know that he had this in him. I mean, he was doing it all from the fade touchdown, beautiful ball, but he goes up and big boys Jaquan McMillan, the big catch and run, but he's always there to make a big play. And I do think this was a statement game for Trevor Lawrence. He played really, really well. I think after the first couple of drives, I think he was sort of antsy, and I think the Broncos pass defense was playing really well. And then they really took off after the big Brenton Strange was lined up in the backfield. It was very similar to one of the first playbooks where Tyler Warren was lined up in the backfield against the Broncos, and they got an explosive off that, attacking the linebackers. And they did that all game. And it felt like Liam Cohen really had the step on Vance Joseph in this entire game. But this was a statement game for the Jaguars. This was you know what? The Jags are legit, not only as like playoff team, but they could win the AFC. Given the state of the AFC and how this offense is playing, we said it all season. If you get momentum and you ride momentum into the playoffs, it'll take you really far.
Jags now 11-4. Broncos dropped to 12-3. Broncos still the favorite to get the 1 seed, but it's getting tight. They're at 43%. Pats at 38%. Jags 12%. So still an outside chance of that 1 seed. They have an 80% chance, though, of winning that division. They go to the Colts next week. Titans at home, week 18. Should be 2 wins. We'll see if they're 2 wins. 13-win Jag season. Hasn't been done in a while. We shall see. everything you said. This offense they just have answers when they're at full strength, when they have all these guys at their disposal, and the emergence of Parker Washington, the addition of Jacoby Myers, that backfield, and now Brenton Strange back. It's just like every guy. I don't say every guy can have the game Parker Washington did. Parker Washington was balling day, but like every guy is capable of doing something if he is given the favorable matchup. Every guy can win if it's against your lesser corner or your lesser linebacker. That's just a good place to be in because, well, Liam Cohen's probably going to get you a one-on-one against that lesser guy. So hats off to him. Hats off Trevor Lawrence, who I thought played awesome. He was under pressure 46.5% of the time today. 46.5. I still got home, especially up the middle. Trevor, more often than not, was able to evade, was able to still find guys under pressure. It was an all-around team, awesome performance. And on the flip side, just like Bo Nix wasn't good enough. It was not some big plays, but then some bad misses, bad pick to end it. He was just not as good as Trevor Lawrence today.
I think that was the biggest difference. Was the Jaguars quarterback made the plays when they needed him to, and I'm not saying this as if Bo Nix played poorly. I thought he played really good actually in the first half. The slot fade touchdown to Courtland Sutton, Bo Nix completely crushed what the Jaguars are trying to do. They're trying to run an all-out blitz, and they're going to try and sneak Eric Murray in from the slot to blitz through the middle. But he Bo Nix dummy counted and got him to show the blitz, adjust the protection, and then he threw the fade to Courtland Sutton, sort of fading, sort of like Caleb Williams did for the Jade Walker touchdown on Saturday. It was really similar, but it was a great play. But when you get later into the game, you have the really bad interception where the check down is open, but I think Bo Nix in his head decided, I'm going to throw this pass no matter what.
Yes.
It wasn't even like pressure got to him or anything. He just decided that ball was going to Pat Bryant anyway. It didn't matter who was going to be out there. It could have been Deion Sanders out there at corner. He was throwing that to Pat Bryant. You also had the sack where he tries to throw the ball away, but he runs out of bounds. His foot is out of bounds when he throws it. And it's sort of like one of those boneheaded plays where, remember early in the season when Trevor Lawrence kept getting the illegal forward pass penalties?
Yes.
Because he doesn't know where he is on the field. That's what Bo Nix did in this game. And then the biggest play that flipped it, there were actually a couple. One was the fumble on the exchange, where I actually thought Sean Payton and the Broncos did a really good job of sort of deciphering this Jaguars run defense by using Bo Nix as a run threat. So they had a lot of gun stuff, a lot of RPOs. The RJ Harvey touchdown came on a split zone read option where Trayvon Walker wasn't able to crash down and make a play on the backside because he's so worried about Bo Nix as a run threat. But the way that bit them was he fumbled the quarterback running back exchange, and that was a big field flipping play. The trick play, I think it was trying a reverse pass to Courtland Sutton, and Buster Brown breaks it up in the middle of the third quarter. That was a game-changing play because that was after the Jaguars had gone 3 and out. They had gotten sacked, and you could feel sort of the momentum start to swing back into the Broncos' direction. They try that flea flicker, and Buster Brown makes a great play. He's played incredible lately, but it was those types of plays that the Jaguars were able to make, and it was really underrated because they didn't have any sacks, because Bo Nix was actually really good evading sacks in this game outside of the bozo one that we talked about. But Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker were great today.
They took over the Broncos O-line. I do think the Broncos O-line, it's a very good unit, but if you get them in obvious passing situations, they aren't the lockdown. They're number one in pressure rate allowed, but it's a lot of that's via scheme. I think if you can get them behind the chains, and you have guys like Josh Hines, you have multiple rushers, I think you can still very much get home against this O-line.
And what they did was Trayvon Walker would move to guard against Ben Powers, and Josh Hines-Allen would line up next to him over Garrett Bowles. So you basically eliminated the threat of a double team for either of them. You can't double Josh Hines-Allen because Trayvon Walker was crushing Ben Powers at guard when he would line up inside. But you also can't double on Trayvon Walker because Josh Hines-Allen was getting a lot of pressure. So it's just timely plays, and those are plays that the Jaguars don't make. The Jaguars don't sweep the AFC West last season. The Jaguars don't go into Mile High and beat the number 1 seed Broncos last season. They just don't do that. There's a level of confidence to this team that is really brought on by good coaching.
Whew. Jags, like I said, Colts next week, Titans after that, Broncos on the other hand, their schedule, they go Broncos go to the Chiefs, home against the Chargers. Obviously, that Chiefs game looks a lot easier now. That's why they're still favored to be the 1 seed. Let's get to the last of the big divisional matchups with big implications, and it's the Bucs. It's the Panthers, where the Panthers win 23-20, officially making the Bucs the worst team in the NFC South because they've lost to the Saints, Falcons, and Panthers the last 3 weeks, completing the trio. A big number for this one. It's 3.4 yards per target. That is the number for Mike Evans in this one. He had 31 yards on 9 targets in this game, including that game-ending interception. We kept saying, wait till Mike Evans comes back. That was different offense for Mike Evans. No, it actually hasn't been different at all since Mike Evans came back. It might just be Baker.
Yeah, I'm officially concerned. Like, not officially concerned, but I'm very concerned about this Bucs team. I don't know if they got it. I don't know if Baker's got it to finish this season. A large part of, like, yes, he has been injured. Yes, the Bucs have also haven't been healthy. But he's playing like he's seeing ghosts right now. He's a lot of the game against the Panthers, he was double clutching everything. Like, he just wasn't trusting what he was seeing. And, I'd expect that against, like, maybe he's seeing a lot of pressure or like the Bucs offensive line is just getting beat up front. But they're playing the Panthers. The Panthers don't blitz. They're not a good pass rush team. They actually did. They ran really good pressure in this game, but they're not a pressure team. So just seeing him sort of fall apart under zero pressure feels like a bad omen for the Bucs this season, because those are the sort of things that Liam Cohen, Dave Canales were able to coach out of him, but also minimize. And I sort of feel like this is the first year that they are actually feeling the offensive coordinator regression. Not to say that Josh Grizzard is not a good offensive coordinator, but like there's a significant drop-off in Canales and Cohen to Josh Grizzard. And I think that Baker Mayfield has not been good enough to overcome that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an understatement. He's been, quite frankly, just horrible since then. And it really, like, if he didn't have his legs, 49 yards in this game, like, it's not even that close. Like, he was not, they were struggling on the offensive side of the ball. I think there was an underrated sequence that I, at the time, remarked on, and in retrospect, I'm like, this ended up being pretty big. There were back-to-back runs from Sean Tucker at the goal line. I think they were up at the time. They were up 7-3. It's midway in the second quarter. And on both the runs, Sean Tucker just completely botched the sort of where he needed to go. The first one, I think it was like power to the left, and he freezes waiting for the block to set up when, like, he should have just hit the hole and he could have put his face into the goal line. And the next one was Baker leading out to the right side, and he goes outside the block with Baker having inside leverage instead of just turning it upfield, and like it was a walk-in touchdown from there. That was, to me, a massive sequence in retrospect, because they end up kicking a field goal there. They end up losing by a field goal. But if you have Bucky Irving in the game there, shoot, even probably Rachaad White, who, not great vision, but both probably have better vision than Sean Tucker, who really is kind of blind. And it's his biggest downfall, because he is a freak of nature. But if he had vision, could be truly great starting running back in this league. He just does not. If they have him in there in the game, I think they win this one.
Yeah, and it feels like that's sort of also where the Bucs haven't been as good this season. In this game against the Panthers, they had a 28% rushing success rate. So they were able to generate explosives. Like Bucky Irving had 79 yards. But in this game, They had a 20% rushing first down rate. They had a negative 0.03 EPA per play carrying the ball, whereas the Panthers had a 0.08 EPA per carry on the ground. Like, they were able to generate. The Panthers are able to do what they normally do, which is grind out games. They're able to just get enough from their run game. And then Bryce Young made a few good plays. I mean, if you look at just overall, he threw the ball 32 times. He had 32 passing attempts for 191 passing yards. It was not a fantastic game for Bryce Young. But when they asked him to make plays, the touchdown was an incredible play where he's making something happen off script. It was really cool to see that version of Bryce Young come back, because that's something that you saw at Alabama. The creativity, the spatial awareness that he showed off was really good. But you also saw he had a beautiful throw and catch to Jalen Coker downfield. Jalen Coker being a legit downfield threat, great for the brand. Once again, Tedero McMillan was making a lot of good plays. But it's just, that's what you're getting from this Panthers team. Like, they just know how to win in late down situations. They had a 0.27 EPA per play on late downs in this game. They had a 0.31 EPA per pass in late downs in this game. That is where Bryce Young is at his best. And so it sort of just makes everything really weird for the Panthers, because he's not that great. But when they ask him to do great things on third and fourth down, he almost always answers the bell.
Panthers and Bucs now sort of on equal footing because they have that Week 18 matchup. So if the Bucs win, they get the tiebreaker. If the Panthers win, they obviously win by record, because the Bucs play the Dolphins next week. The Panthers play the Seahawks next week. Shoot, I don't even trust the Bucs to beat the Dolphins. There's a world in where now it would take the Panthers beating the Seahawks. They've beaten the Packers. They've beaten the Rams. It could happen. There is a world in where the Panthers have it wrapped up next week if they win, the Bucs lose. But more likely than not, this will come down to the winner of that Week 18 game.
Make it Sunday Night Football. Let's do it. Let's bring everybody.
I think it's going to have to be. I'm trying to think of what could even be in the mix for it. I guess 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers. Seahawks. That's really the only one.
I bet they end up making that, because that probably will be for the 1 seed, I would guess. But we'll see how that goes on Monday night.
We'll get a Saturday night game too, Week 18. They could make people watch Saturday night.
That's gonna be the Saturday night game. Bucs Panthers.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the first year Doug Peterson, when the Jags and Titans played on Saturday night. That's peak AFC South, NFC South area. Like, if you have a division deciding game, just put it on Saturday night.
Stick it on Saturday night. People would be out at a bar watching it. Perfect. All right, we're going to take a quick break after that. A few more meaningful games to get to, and then some draft positions to get to right after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Bills eke one out in Cleveland against the Browns, 23-20. My big number from this one, it's 2. So many completions past 10 yards that were in this game all game long between Shedeur and Josh Allen, who both had 1 apiece. It was not pretty. There were some ugly injuries. Quinshon Judkins, don't watch it if you're meek with those sorts of things. Dislocated ankle, fractured fibula. That will truly, I mean, that's no timetable on an injury like that. That is a horrible, horrible injury. So prayers to for him. But on the Bills side, this felt like one of those where it's like, you kind of just happy you got out with the win, because it didn't always look like that was going to be the case.
Just win your clunkers.
Yeah,
you just got to go win the stinker games. I was 100% sure they're going to lose after that fourth down rollout pass that Dawson Knox dropped. I was like, yeah, they're going to lose this one. I thought Shedeur was going to do it. Like, I thought that would have been the funniest outcome of this game. But I think the Bills needed this one. They needed to win an ugly game. Every team that wants to be a Super Bowl champion or wants to be a championship team has to win their ugly ones. And this was an ugly game by every standpoint. It felt sort of like the Bills were terrified of letting Myles Garrett like wreck this game naturally, but you were able to lean on the ground game. You didn't have to have the passing game going because James Cook is really good.
What were your thoughts on the Myles Garrett phantom sack? No touch sack. It's not even two-hand touch. In two-hand touch, that wouldn't have technically been a sack. He just looked at him and Josh Allen fell, and they gave him a half sack.
They don't ask how, they ask how many. And that is 22 and a half right now. That is truly all that matters right now when it comes to chasing records. I don't even think Myles Garrett will recognize that as a sack for him. So I think that he is still going to he's going to go and get the record. There's still definitely more time for him, but that was a very funny.
This is setting up perfect for my scenario. Aaron Rodgers pulls a run left right into Myles Garrett.
Takes a dive,
sack 23. Play lives on in infamy. It could happen. Week 17, it's happened before. In this one, Greg Rousseau had a big day, 10 pressures, 2.5 sacks. He took over. It was, again, just one that the Bills are more than happy to leave with a win, leave healthy, even if the offense was not great.
And I actually thought in this game, before the meltdown at the end for the offense, I actually thought Shedeur didn't play that poorly. I thought he was getting rid of the ball quickly. I thought that he was able to make some plays as a scrambler. But then at the end, it also sort of felt like he had a little bit too much dip on his chip with the sacks at the end, which is this is just unfortunate because everybody's going to point that at me like, he still hasn't learned not to take any sacks. But, I mean, he was doing really well not taking sacks. But something just to note for him moving forward is a lot of batted passes. The interception, one of the interceptions he threw was a batted pass. So that's just something that's going to happen when you're not a tall guy. So I'm curious how he continues to grow because he's actually shown some small signs of growth.
I really wanted them to go for the 4th and 32 at their own one. I thought that was kind of electric. Like just like going like if you convert a 4th and 32 from your own one, that's
you deserve to win the game. Yeah.
So I thought they should have ended up obviously cost them the game, but I digress. Let's get to Chargers at Cowboys. Chargers win, double them up, 34-17 on the road. What's your big number in this one?
My big number is 5. That's how many completions Justin Herbert had of 20 or more air yards in this game.
Whew.
That is second for Justin Herbert this season. I'm pretty sure
Quinn Johnson figured out how to catch.
That's the most incredible development of the season. I don't care what happens throughout the rest of the season. Quentin Johnson developing hands and winning in contested catch situations.
One-handed catch? One-handed catch in this game. I think that might have been the first of his life. Truly the first in an NFL game or a college game that he's ever
That is defined character growth. Like we talk about character arcs in fiction and in writing. This is character growth within the arc.
It's like gaining a new power. You know?
He's unlocked a new level. It's like an RPG game. I'm pretty sure the three of us, including Stryker, could go and play on the Cowboys defense right now. I'm pretty sure we could. But this was, again, just a really impressive game for Justin Herbert, given the circumstances of what was going on around him. I mean, he at one point during this game had a 68% success rate, 0.82 EPA per play, with Austin Deculus and Bobby Hart as his starting tackles in this game. He was just dialed in. And this game, honestly, felt like QB teach tape on both sides. But the Chargers being able to just hammer them with explosives in the passing game and Omarion Hampton hitting them with just the consistency of the ground game. Hampton I say this not as a bad thing for Omarion Hampton. I actually think it's pretty cool that he always has the ability of just falling forward. It sort of reminds me of Latavius Murray, how Latavius Murray was always able to just grind out 5-yard carries, 4-yard carries. It wasn't always explosives, but he was always consistent when he played. Now that's sort of what Omarion Hampton is right now, but he can be so much more because of the higher, much more athleticism. But Justin Herbert finished this game with a 0.72 EPA per play. That's insane. And if you just want to do just as a passer, he had a 0.77 EPA per pass and a 64% success rate. What else can you say about him?
I want to go back to Hampton for just a second because I think he's perfect for the offense, and I understand why they drafted him in the first round. But 2, I am seriously worried for that man's career length. He runs too hard. He runs too physical. It's just you don't have to finish every run with the biggest blow possible. And I get that you're trying to set the tone, but I'm just this guy's he almost runs too hard. I'm worried about him. Sometimes it's okay to just take that step out of him.
If he was in 2005, he would be one of the best running backs in the league. That is real ethical
really
football.
It
does not matter who's in front of him. He's going to try and run him over. And I think that fits this team so well. And we're looking at a Chargers team who has won 11 plus games once again and this team is still technically still being ripped to the studs. You're getting important plays from Tyre Tart and Deshaun Hand. And there's a chance although it's slim, the Chargers could end up with the 1 seed. And if they end up with the 1 seed in the AFC, I brought it up last week on the Tuesday show, Justin Herbert as an MVP candidate. And I was saying I was overturning it, but I'm considering it. I think I'm heavily considering it now, given the degree of difficulty that he has to play with every week.
3% chance, according to the Athletics model, of them getting the 1 seed. So we'll say 3% chance of Justin Herbert taking home the MVP. Let's get to Raiders at Texans. Texans sneak by 23-21. This should not have been this tight. They needed a pick 6 to win 23-21 against the Raiders. Whew. They now have a 98% chance to make the playoffs here, the Texans.
That is the big number, and that's the only number that matters for the Texans right now. They are headed. They are basically locked into the playoffs. This was rough, and it was a rough game for the Texans offensive line as a pass protection unit. It was honestly really alarming for someone who thinks the Texans, if they get into the playoffs, can be a very dangerous team. This was an alarming game for them when it comes to they weren't able to protect CJ Stroud very much. They weren't able to generate a lot of stuff on the ground. They averaged 3 yards a carry in this game. Jawar Jordan led the team in rushing yards with 53 yards. But again, for this team, all it takes is one. All it takes is one CJ Stroud and Nico Collins play. And that's all they needed towards that end of game pass. But double coverage, it just doesn't matter. And then the defense, they got the pick 6, but also from the Raiders' perspective, this is the best game you got from Ashton Junty as a pro.
Oh, that was, if you're a Raiders fan, this was a sight for sore eyes because you were waiting. I think we had one game earlier in the season where I was like, oh, Genty, that's, what you're missing. This was the full Genty package of what he can be if you really give him some run blocking, if you really feature him in creative ways, because I think something that we said in the pre-draft that just has not been utilized for him here was he was a high school high school wide receiver until his senior year. He was a all conference wide receiver. He was a very good wide receiver. He's just obviously tiny for a wide receiver. They had a very good running back at his high school. That's why he played there, though. Switched to running back. Why he ends up at Boise State is because, tiny wide receiver, didn't play running back till his senior year, and most recruiting is done prior to your senior year. But he can catch. You could feature him in what they did at patch. Shoot a go ball on the outside. He can track it well. And it was an awesome, awesome play from Ashton Genty. Just the full skill set. You finally saw what he could be if just the situation around him improves.
Yeah, this was the most ethical tanking that you could have wanted if you're a Raiders fan. You got the Ashton Junty plays. You got a couple nice Jack Bech plays. Yeah, I noticed the Jack Bech usage. I appreciate that. Finally, they're getting him involved. And then Max Crosby just continues to do his thing. And so you lose the game, but also like you get what you wanted if you were a Raiders fan.
Yes. All right, let's get to Chiefs at Titans. Titans win 26-9. And the only big numbers to talk about in this, the Titans now drafting 5th, the Chiefs drafting 12th. That's the highest they've drafted since, well, they picked Patrick Mahomes 10th overall in 2017.
Cam Ward looked pretty good. Like, of course, this came against the Chiefs team that basically shut everybody down.
Yes.
Like, I think before the game, they like ruled out like Rashee Rice, Jawan Taylor. I don't think most of their starting defenders didn't play. Trent McDuffie didn't play. Like, they were playing with they basically were playing a preseason game, but Cam Ward,
are they going to get a talking to from the NFL? This is pretty early. With 3 games left. That's like you do that in the NBA. I don't know if that's a thing in the NFL.
They might, but also like you're not going to stop them at this point. They have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Like there's no reason for anybody else to just like risk injury. So outside of that, I thought Cam Ward played pretty well. A couple of nice plays. He's starting to stack games, which is really good for the Titans. And then, of course, the big news in this one was Gardner Minshew also tearing his ACL in this game. That's insane. For your top 2 quarterbacks to go out with torn ACLs, you're down to Chris Olakun at quarterback. That felt like the most white flag game from the Chiefs I've seen from them, unless it's like a game where they've already clinched a playoff berth.
The Chiefs now, next 2 weeks, Broncos and Raiders. That Week 18 game could be what moves the Raiders out of the #1 overall pick because they do play the Giants next week. So that's a big one in terms of who ends up getting it because they are #1 and #2 right now, the only 2 win teams in the NFL. All right, we'll take a quick break. After that, we're going to roll through the 4 games left in the Sunday slate. None of them particularly meaningful. None of them featuring playoff teams at this point. But we're going to discuss some aspects of them after this.
They want to take this place from us. My family is in danger. My wife is lost to me, and I don't have time.
1923, new season now streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Bengals beat the Dolphins 45-21. Big number from this one, 5. They had 5 straight touchdown drives in this game. It was obviously Quinn Ewers' NFL starting debut. I had to laugh, though, because Joe Burrow underthrew Jamar Chase on the most ugly deep ball ever, just rubbing it into his face in his house. Completing a deep ball like that was just an homage to Tua getting benched there.
This game wasn't particularly competitive outside of the one scripted Quinn Ewers drive where I was like, hey, Quinn Ewers might be good. And then you move off the scripted plays and it just falls apart quickly. This is sort of, for Bengals fans, it sort of feels a little hollow because like, yeah, you put up 45 points, but really what could have been like we've seen the Bengals at full strength do this. You can put 45 points on teams easily. But the fact they're never at full strength and this defense is never really like good, like it sort of sucks for them to get the 45-point explosion at this point when they've been eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, it's like you're 5-10. You're obviously not a 5-10 team right now. Is I think the part that sucks for Bengals fans. You have zero hope of anything this season, but you watch this team that can just be ungodly any given week offensively, and you're just like, what could have been? All right, Jets and Saints. Saints win 26-9, one of the hottest teams now in the entire NFL. They're winners of 3 straight after starting the season 2-10. They now are 5-10. And the big number, Tyler Shuck sets a career high with 308 passing yards. he is officially your 2026 New Orleans Saints starting quarterback.
You know what? I still don't think Tyler Shuck, I think he is going to get the shot in 2026. I still think there's a lot left to be gleaned from him and more growth to be had. But the fact that you're getting productive days from him, you're stacking days as a second-round pick at quarterback, I think that's good. He's able to keep the offense on schedule. They don't really create a lot of explosives, but you keep going. You keep on keeping on with Tyler Shuck, and you just try and see if you can build up the skill position core, build up defense around him, and see what happens next year.
Good day from Shuck. Jonas Sanker gets an interception in this one. Rookie class looking great there for New Orleans. Hopefully things turning around.
Have you seen the Jets interception stat?
That they have not had a pick all season long.
They haven't had a pick all season. And they have 2 games left to basically set a record that nobody has ever really touched of just not getting an interception all season.
Is that a fireable offense for Aaron Glenn? Your defensive head coach, you come in and your defense doesn't get 1 interception. You're a defensive back yourself.
I think most of the times I think it would, but I think because he didn't call the defense, I think you get sort of a mulligan. I wasn't actually calling the plays for the team, but moving forward, they have the Bills and the Patriots. Do you think that they get one before the season ends? Do you think they get a pick?
Bills, no. Josh Allen probably won't even throw a pass in that game. Patriots, potentially, but it could be a meaningless Patriots game, right? That's week 18, right?
Yeah, the Patriots are week 18.
So it could be a backup for the Patriots.
Could be a Dobbs game, yeah.
So that would be your best hope, in my opinion. Because again, I don't think the Bills throw a pass next week. They're going to do 12 passes, 25 runs. I think it's fireable offense. I think it's not that you were just not good, right? It's that you were all-time bad. You don't go from all-time bad to what the Bears are doing this year, in my opinion. It's something that if you don't have a single interception for that long, there were some sort of coaching points. There were something that you were doing that just was not getting you in positions to make interceptions. And to me, yeah, I think that's an unbelievable stat. Now, I also think it's indicative of, because the one they're going to break, the record they're going to break in terms of games, is the 49ers from 2024 to 2025, which is very indicative of just how turnover, interception proclivity has increased across the NFL. Just guys aren't putting the ball in harm's way, how passing offenses are changed in terms of what they want to do, but still bad, still not good.
It's still really bad to not have one. I don't think they've had an interception, I believe, since week 15 of last season. It has been a minute since they've had an interception. So I will see. We'll see what happens with the Jets in the offseason, but the defense has been historically bad.
All right, let's get to Vikings at Giants. Vikings win 16-13. This was not the best showing, shall we say, for these young quarterbacks.
This was an awful football game. And I'm not just saying that because the quarterbacks were awful, but my big number in this game is 33. That's how many passing yards Jackson Dart had. Jackson Dart had 7 passing completions all game. Wait, he had 8 if you count the interception that he threw to the Vikings. At one point during the game, I think until midway through the second quarter, Jackson Dart had completed 1 pass. I get they're terrified of Brian Flores completely destroying your young quarterback. But at some point, man, you gotta do something. He had 7 completions
and they lost. They were down. You only threw 13 passes.
He had 7 completions and took 5 sacks. That's Again, that's awful, awful football. No matter how you want to shake it, of course, there were a few drops, but this was just an awful game all around. And
It really was.
like on the other side, JJ McCarthy, I think, played fairly well, but then he gets hurt. And now that opens up a much larger discussion about JJ McCarthy and his inability to stay healthy. Because at this point, it's been the meniscus and ACL. It has been a concussion. It's been a sprained ankle. It's been, I think, fractured wrist. He's also like banged his hand on a helmet during practice. Like outside of being one of the worst quarterbacks in football for a large majority of the season, he also can't stay healthy, which now makes your 2026 decisions moving forward a whole lot more difficult if you're Minnesota.
This is something I was literally just talking about today with someone about injury proneness and how injuries are random, and there's definitely randomness to injuries, but there is also injury proneness and injury avoidantness. I mean, how do you explain Bruce Matthews, the guy who has the longest starting streak ever for offensive linemen? His son had currently, Jake Matthews, having the longest starting streak ever for offensive linemen. Like there is something to just guys' propensity to getting injured. I think it is a thing that is innate in some way, shape, or form. And JJ McCarthy ain't it right now. Dude, just is not it. Or Jackson Dart too. I mean, Jackson Dart's obviously stylistically. I don't think JJ's fully stylistically. Some stylistically, obviously, like he does not have the avoidance to his pocket presence that makes him just prone to not taking big hits. But it's something that just has to change. You can't be missing as much time as he had. Like it's that, as much as his performance on the football field is as worrisome. It's just the guy is the third time this season that he's had to miss time on top of missing his entire rookie season. That's a crazy amount of time in 2 seasons for anyone. So not great. Not great.
It feels like we're talking about Anthony Richardson a little bit, where like Anthony Richardson wasn't that great when he was on the field, but he also couldn't stay on the field. And we saw how that experiment ended, especially because both those guys entering the league needed reps. They needed time to go play at the NFL level, and they're just not getting that because they're always hurt. But I do think it's funny that if you told yourself last week the Vikings and Giants would play and the Vikings quarterback left the game with an injury, I think I would be like, you're crazy, because the Giants quarterback can never stay healthy. So it's just unfortunate for JJ McCarthy, and it just leaves you a lot more questions than answers.
All right, let's get to Falcons at Cardinals. Last game here. Falcons win 26-19. Big number here, 3-2. That's Kirk Cousins' record this season for the Falcons. He has half of their wins on the season. The unfortunate news, though, from this one, Walter Nolan, star rookie DT for the Cardinals, his knee did not look good in that injury. He came off the field, carted off. Haven't heard word on exactly what it is just yet, but did not look good, shall we say.
Honestly, the biggest thing is shout out to Bijan Robinson. Over 2,000 scrimmage yards in this game or in this season. That is, again, it sucks because it's on the Falcons right now, but he is doing some of the most impressive stuff on a football field that I have ever seen. It feels like when you watch like Allen Iverson, like mixtapes, it feels like you're watching an and one mixtape, watching Bijan Robinson on the field. And the fact that he's doing this as a runner, as a receiver, he's one of the best blockers as a running back in the NFL. He's so great that I really just hope that the Falcons kind of just figure it out. Just get some form of quarterback play so we can get Bijan Robinson in high leverage, high like games that matter.
I know that the catch he had where he's kind of going backwards, contorting, and just like doesn't stop. It just keeps going. And that's the only way he was able to break out of the linebacker, come through the line stream. It's just he does things that other guys cannot do in the way he moves on a football field. It sucks that it just doesn't matter this year. Like 2,000 yards from scrimmage, and you only got 6 wins. It's really sad, but he is just a one-of-one player that if that offensive line improves, if that scheme gets a little more diverse in the running game, that should be a house. It should be a house. Unfortunately, not right now.
The NFL should allow the Falcons to put a GoPro on Bijan's helmet. Like, he's the only player like that should have the overhead cam only on him, so it feels like you're watching like Madden or something. You should have a GoPro on Bijan Robinson's helmet.
What if you like to move like Bijan?
Like, you know how they have like the Sky Cam for college football playoff games, or like the All 22 view for Prime Vision? There should be Bijan Vision for Falcons games, where you can choose to watch the game like from the perspective of Bijan Robinson.
Oh, dude, that would be sick to sell. Just the ability in VR to just see what it's like to move as those guys.
Yeah,
like Myles Garrett. What does it look like for Myles Garrett to do his patented Euro step? Like, how quick is he moving? Bijan, when he gets in the flat, what does that look like to just completely, when he shakes like that? I think that'd be sick. I think that's another cool golden opportunity in the NFL.
Another cool one could be Fred Warner in the middle of the defense.
Yeah,
I think that'd be really cool. Loki Talanoa Hufanga would be such a fun GoPro. And I think that GoPro is moving at 80 miles an hour every single play.
I do bet. So within our lifetime, maybe not like super soon, but sometime soon, we're gonna have cameras resilient enough, small enough that you can, during a game, flip to a guy's headset. Like, I want to watch through Fred Warner's eyes this play. And you go and you flip onto like his camera, and you can like literally live as middle linebacker for the 49ers, whatever. I think that's going to come. Now we're obviously technologically like close to that. It would have to be, is the NFL going to consent to it? I think the way things are going with the access fans are getting, I bet that's something that probably in 10 to 15 years we're going to have. Oh, that'll be sick. All right. Week 16, it was an exciting week of football. Really was. We will be back on Tuesday breaking down Christmas games. We got a few of those. We'll be back then on Friday, day after Christmas, breaking down the weekend slate. Thanks so much to you guys for tuning in. Until next time, keep pushing.